The HOA security drew a gun on my wife. They had no idea she's still active Delta Force. She was just out front watering the roses when a black SUV screeched to a halt in front of our driveway. No plates, no insignia. Two men jumped out, dressed in what could pass for security uniforms. But something was off. No badges, no name tags, just radios clipped to their belts and the kind of fake swagger you only see in people who've never actually faced real danger. One of them leveled a pistol at her. "Hands up," he barked. "You're on HOA-controlled property," the other one finished. I was inside, watching from the window, completely still. Not out of fear, out of disbelief. These guys weren't law enforcement. They weren't military. They weren't ready. And they had no idea who they were dealing with. She didn't flinch. She looked straight at the guy aiming the gun and spoke in a low, calm voice. "You have 5 seconds to put that weapon down." He smirked, thinking she was bluffing. "Or what?" he said. That's when I noticed it, the tiniest shift in her posture, the angle of her foot, the way her hand adjusted just slightly. I've seen that stance before. Once, when she disarmed a drunk guy waving a knife on a subway. Took her 4 seconds, maybe less. She didn't yell, didn't move. But suddenly the guy's expression changed. Sweat formed at his brow. His arm stayed up, but his confidence wavered. His partner noticed. "What's wrong?" he asked. She's not just a regular housewife," the first guy muttered. He was right. She's Delta Force. And no, she's not retired. The second guy wasn't buying it. He stepped closer, acting like he was the one in charge. "Delta Force?" "Yeah, okay," he scoffed, but her eyes didn't even flick toward him. She wasn't reacting. She was assessing. Still. Her eyes locked onto the man with the weapon. Her expression didn't shift, but I knew. Her mind was already racing ahead, calculating distances, trajectories, exits. Every variable. "You're impersonating federal officers," she said, voice calm, deliberate. "That's a felony." "We're with the HOA," the man snapped. "This is under our authority. You people were never approved to live here." I walked out onto the front porch, my tone measured, but every word carried heat. "This home was purchased outright under a federal relocation program. You're trespassing on private property." They didn't flinch, didn't back down. Instead, the first man raised his weapon again, this time pointing it at both of us. "You got 10 seconds to get your things and go. Military families aren't allowed in this neighborhood." And just like that, she changed. Not visibly, not to most people. But something in the atmosphere shifted, still as ever, but the silence around us thickened. Even the birds had gone quiet. The man with the gun hesitated. His hand trembled slightly, grip faltering. She took a single step forward. "You just aimed an unlicensed firearm at a federal agent on American soil," she said evenly. He blinked, confused. "What?" That's when I raised my phone. My cousin works county dispatch. I'd been live streaming everything since the SUV rolled up. "Smile," I said, showing them the screen. "You're on with the sheriff's office." Still they held their ground. One of them scoffed. "Sheriff's got nothing on us. We don't report to him." We answer to the board, and that's when the truth dropped. This wasn't about landscaping or HOA rules. This wasn't about watering flowers. They knew exactly who we were, and they showed up anyway. Her breathing shifted, barely, but I recognized the signal. She was done waiting. She moved. She turned her back on them, slow, controlled, and walked toward the flower planter by the porch. There was no urgency in her movements. She knelt down, lifted the pot, and revealed a metal lockbox secured to the decking beneath. Calmly, she entered a code, popped it open, and reached inside. The two men exchanged uneasy glances. The one holding the gun shifted his weight, glancing at his partner like the situation was slipping out of control. She rose with a black leather binder in hand, weathered, official, marked with a silver eagle embossed on the front. "You want to talk about authority?" she said, flipping it open. "This is a Department of Defense directive. This property was allocated to active duty personnel under national security relocation orders. The second man leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing. That can't be. We never got anything about this. You weren't supposed to, I replied, stepping up beside her. Because you're not on any federal registry. You're not HOA officials. You're not police. I reached for the badge on his vest, tugged it free with 2 fingers, and let it fall to the ground. Plastic. The guy with the gun started to unravel. Beads of sweat broke across his forehead. His grip faltered. Just enough to show doubt, not enough to concede. But she wasn't done. You aimed a firearm at a U.S. Special Operations officer on federally protected land while posing as a law enforcement agent, she said, eyes fixed on them. Do you understand the gravity of that? They didn't answer, just silence. Then she touched the mic clipped to her collar. Bravo 9 to Sentinel. Package confirmed. Possible federal crime in progress. Requesting visual confirmation and units for detainment. Both men froze, their faces drained of color. What is this? The second one whispered, dread creeping into his voice. That's when it hit them. She wasn't just responding to a threat. She was triggering protocol. Because what they didn't realize, she was the protocol. The first guy, the loud one, the one who'd pointed the gun, He stepped back like his body was already halfway into retreat. The gun was still in his hand, but now it looked heavy, like he didn't want to be holding it anymore. His partner didn't move at all, just stood there, eyes wide, trying to process the situation unraveling around them. Whatever authority they'd been pretending to have was gone, evaporated. We should just get out of here, call it off, the second guy whispered, barely loud enough to hear. But it was too late. She tapped her mic again, voice as level as ever. Sentinel, this is Bravo 9, confirming presence of unauthorized armed individuals impersonating officials, requesting immediate response, no sirens yet. Not a sound. But something in their faces shifted, panic set in like they could already hear them. Or maybe it was the gut-level realization that whoever they thought would bail them out wasn't coming. Then came the wail. Distant at first, then growing louder. Real sirens, sharp and rising. The flash of red and blue bounced off the houses 2 blocks over. These weren't HOA patrol trucks. These were real deputies, real law enforcement, with real jurisdiction. My wife didn't move, didn't gloat, just turned to them and said quietly, "You made the wrong call." The man with the gun finally gave in. His hand opened and the weapon dropped onto the grass with a soft thud. His partner stood trembling, still locked in place. They didn't wait for the sheriff to make his entrance. One dropped to his knees. The other spun to run, but didn't get far. He barely made it halfway down the block before a deputy brought him down hard. The sheriff arrived like he owned the ground beneath his feet, calm, stern, scanning everything. The binder, the mic, the dropped weapon. The 2 men now reduced to nothing. He turned to my wife, gave her a nod of quiet respect. "Good as always, ma'am." Then to the man still kneeling, voice cold and final, impersonating law enforcement, game's over. The cuffs clicked shut, and in that moment I felt something shift. It wasn't just relief. It was the solid weight of justice landing exactly where it should. She didn't say much, just gave me that look she always does. A half smile, half warning. Like she was glad it was over, but she wasn't done yet. As the squad car turned the corner, dragging their panic with it, the neighborhood fell quiet. But not peacefully. It was the kind of silence you could feel pressing down, the kind that comes when everyone's watching from behind their curtains, pretending they didn't see a thing. I glanced around. A few blinds twitched. A couple of front doors barely cracked open. Not one of them had stepped out. No one had intervened. But they'd all seen. She didn't speak. Just stood there, still and sharp, eyes fixed down the street like she was waiting for something else. Then she looked at me and I could see it, her mind was already moving ahead. She wasn't thinking about those 2 cowards anymore. She was thinking about who had sent them. This wasn't some paranoid HOA stunt, she said quietly. This was coordinated. I nodded. You think they're coming back? They weren't. Here to provoke you, I said. No, she replied. They were sent to evaluate me. A chill ran through me at her words. She moved toward the house with that same sharp composure, and I followed close behind, still shaken from everything we'd just witnessed. As soon as the front door shut, my phone vibrated. A new message from the sheriff had come in. This runs deeper than we thought. They're part of a wider group operating across multiple counties. Appears they're singling out military families. She read it over my shoulder, then met my eyes. They're not just trying to claim homes, they're trying to take control. She was right. This was never about petty HOA disputes or trimming hedges. Something more dangerous was brewing. And now they knew we weren't going to go quietly. She sat down at the table, already pulling up the porch camera footage when we heard it. A soft noise from the front step. Something subtle, like wood shifting. I opened the door carefully. Plain white envelope lay on the welcome mat. No name, no seal. Inside was one line printed in heavy black letters. You're not done.